Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
It's so wonderful to be with you this morning. I did want you to know that Reverend Michael is, of course, with some of our congregation in our congregant retreat this weekend, and it is called Renew, and I'm sure they're having a great time. They certainly have much better weather now, don't they? It's cooler outside. I don't know if that's really the right word. It's humid out there, but it's cooler out there, just a little bit anyway. So I trust that they're having a good time. Well, this morning I wanted to share with you a talk that I gave, not the whole thing, but a part of it, that I gave when I first got out of ministerial school in 1994. It was one of the very first talks I gave at Unity of Houston on Sunday morning. And it involved I called it scratch-free living, because it was involving the dilemma that I had with the new house that William and I had bought. And it was our first house that we had bought. We had bought together, but that either of us had bought. And what I had was a beautiful 1950s. The year I was born, actually, this house was built, and it had wooden floors all through it. It was like 2,200 square feet, and 2,000 of them were wood floors. And they were beautiful, and they had been waxed. Now, those of you who know about wood floors or have ever waxed a floor, an entire 2,000 square foot space for a working woman with small children just seemed out of the question to me. And yet, I wanted to preserve them. I wanted to take good care of them. But I also had heard about polyurethane. And polyurethane would be placed over it, and it would keep them looking great all the time, that you could spill things on it and wipe it right up, which was perfect for my living style, and I didn't have to wax. But the only drawback to them, not the only, but that's major drawback, is that if you ever scraped it really hard and you scraped through it, you would have to sand it out and replace it or redo it again. What's a girl to do? So I tortured myself trying to figure out which way would I go with these beautiful floors. And I kind of William was, just at the length of his tolerance for my dilemma, because he did not see that this was an issue. But as time went on, as enough time went on, that I finally kind of woke up and looked, and just really looked at these floors. They were my age, obviously. They were 40 years old. And they were not perfect, I walked around through them, and there were certain corners that looked like some water had spilled in there, and they had stained them. And that there was some places that looked like they probably had been replaced. And that there was, some other imperfections in them. It did not make me love them any less or value them any less. I really loved the life and the character of them. And I was okay with polyurethane, because that's what I ended up doing, and it worked out great, but that's not the story. The story is that just like those 40-year-old floors, by then I already had a few dings and knocks and scratches, right, on my life and on my heart. That there are things that give us character and life, and there are things that happen to us in this life because they're meant to. Not everything is the way we want it, and not everything is what we would have wished for, or what we prayed for, or maybe even what we deserved. But yet, we have been enough, and we have met those things as we have walked through our lives. And nobody gets through this life scratch-free. There are lines on our faces, and they show our wisdom and our experience. in international circles, magazines from international sources and from the models there, they don't airbrush things. I don't know if they still don't, but they don't airbrush. They let the natural marks and the birthmark or the freckles or the mole or the different imperfections. When you see that up close, when you see a beautiful person and then see some of the imperfections, this is a unique beauty, and you feel closer. You feel it's almost an intimate moment to really see. When we airbrush everything out of it and just have this beautiful facade, we've eliminated some of that connection, some of that truth, and some of that honesty. Gloria Steinem was talking about in her book, Everyday Rebellious Actions, she shares about sharing a spa experience with other women over a 10-day period. She noticed that as the 10 days went on, while they were in their spa and in the saunas, she said she noticed that women all began to wear less and less clothes around each other, that they were getting more and more comfortable around each other, and more comfortable with their nudity. Gradually, she says, there was also less embarrassment about appendectomy scars and stretch marks, cesarean incisions, and the like. Scars are supposed to be marks of courage on a male body, but marks of ugliness on a female one, she says. Dueling scars, war wounds, scars as violence, those images were part of the reason I had assumed that such marks were shocking on men as well as on women. But many women's body scars have a very different context, and thus an emotional power all their own. Stretch marks and cesarean incisions from giving birth are very different from accident, war, and fight scars. They evoke courage without violence, strength without cruelty, and even so, they're far more likely to be worn with diffidence than bragging. That gives them a moving, bittersweet power, like seeing a room where a very emotional event in our lives once took place. There were other surgical scars that seemed awesome to me too, but not as evocative as those from childbirth. How do women survive even the routine physical price of skin stretched to its limit? After one cesarean birth, where do some women find the courage to attempt several more? Perhaps we'll only be fully at ease with ourselves when we can appreciate scars as symbols of experience, often experiences that others share, and see our bodies as unique chapters in a shared story. Course in Miracles says that our body is a communication tool. The first time I read that, I was really kind of stunned by it because I was like, a communication tool? Well, okay, voice, speaking, facial expression, hand signals, all the ways in which we communicate. That's what I was thinking. But as I really allowed that understanding to kind of deepen and soak down, I began to realize just how much our bodies and all of its interior as well as the exterior is actually communicating with something greater than us. That divine, experience comes through in images and in perceptions, in chill bumps, and in insights, in the ways in which we open ourselves. Our emotions that come up, that come from the experience that we have in the outer world. It is coming up from inside of us in some way. Our bodies are beautiful vehicles. They're not just rooting us to time and place, although they are. Our avatar in this 3D world and this experience that our divine souls are embodying, yes. But there's also a way in which we are communicating with and beyond. We're sending out brainwaves and emotional vibrations. We're sending out all kinds of other messages that are connecting with others, and we're receiving that from others as well. This is a very fluid and dynamic thing, such that our bodies really don't have limits, even though they seem to. Our physicality is reaching way beyond. Just think for a minute, all the ways in which our bodies appear and communicate to others and others in the world through the ways we just look, the way that we are, what we do. Scars from our battles, from wartime, courage and survival. Memorial Weekend is next weekend, and we will be united in gratitude for the sacrifices made for all of us, that the warriors telling stories of war to their community serves the community to understand that their bodies are like walking parchment, the story of battle and courage and survival, of caring about one's other brothers, of the others and other warriors that they share these life and death experiences with. In civilian life, other stressors leave scars. Eating disorders, stretch marks, and health issues. Depression, scars of desperation or hopelessness, and all kinds of pain. Cancer or disease, where surgical solutions bring healing. We can all speak to these. We've seen them. If we don't have them, we know someone who does. Scars from accidents, like the ones the kids were telling us about, all the places that we've been. Scars from our childhood, elbows and knees, learning to ride bikes, skateboards, sleds, sports. I had a skateboard injury. I didn't have any broken bones or anything growing up, and no one in my family did, but I was on a skateboard that my next door neighbor had made with an old pair of skates on a piece of wood, and I had just learned how to get on it and how to go down the sidewalk. And my mom was out in the yard talking to his mom, and I said the forever iconic statement, "Hey Mom, watch this." And so I just skated and pushed and skated down the sidewalk and was going as fast as I could. And of course, yes, it stopped. I did not. And I hit the sidewalk with my mouth open and broke both of my 2 front teeth. My right one, more damaged than the left one, but both of them broken. And I was this happened in between 5th grade and 6th grade, right, in the summer. And so I had to wait for my teeth to become mature before they could be capped. And so I went through all of middle school and all of high school like that. And I thought that was, I should get some brownie points for that. I thought of the time in my life when I could really have used some good front teeth. That was the time. I'm not even sure I really needed them after that much, but I really needed them then. But not so. And in fact, I don't know if this was just a wink and a nod, but my teeth were capped the week before I graduated from high school. So I was able to go into college and be a little bit more put together in my own mind, and I just went on with it, and just made, you do, like we all do. You work with what you got, right? You do what you have to do. We know that events and words that have wounded or impressed upon us to decide things about the world and about life and about ourselves are things that we carry, but they're also what gives us character. Yeah, we get scratched up and bumped around, and we have some scars, and we have some difficult memories. We have some things that we wish hadn't happened and things that shouldn't have happened, but did. We carry these with us, and we all carry scars. We show the wear and tear of our human life experience on our bodies, on our psyches, on our souls. But scars are places where healing has happened. They are a tribute to our learning process, signs of how we've been strengthened by the process of living. Just like the kids down front, what did they learn? They learned not to do that again. That was important. They learned what not to do as much as what to do. And so did you, and so did I, through the strength of our lives, in the process of living. Jesus talks about this in a beautiful way, I think. He says in Luke chapter 5, no one pours new wine into old wineskins. If he does, the new wine will burst the skins, and the wine will run out, and the wineskins will be ruined. No, new wine must be poured into new wineskins. And no one, after drinking old wine, wants the new, for he says the old is better. What is this wineskin business? What it really speaks to is that when wine is first made and fermented, it has to be poured into new wineskins so that they can stretch. They're able to stretch with the fermentation process and hold the wine. Otherwise, if you put new wine into old wineskins, they burst and break. The people that Jesus was talking with understood that, and they understood metaphor. And they understood that what he was really talking about was that there was some change in us that has to occur so that we can ripen with the new experience, that something has to be hollowed out in us, that some compassion has to come into play, that some stretchiness around our hearts has to be achieved so that we can embrace what happens and become more than it and carry it and walk with this new experience, this new consciousness that greets our lives from a more mature and beautiful place of gratitude and power and honesty and love. Life experience strengthens our spiritual growth and is a change of consciousness that happens. And that's what happens when drinking old wine, when someone after drinking old wine wants the new, because he says the old is better. The old is better. Need not be ashamed about our scars. We don't, physical or emotional. Stay with the process of healing until we get the gift. That's the point. Now, 56 years later, after my skateboard accident, my damaged tooth had survived. It wasn't expected to, but it did. Up until recently, it was no longer attached to the bone and it had to be removed. And I knew that was going to have to happen, so I had a retainer made with a tooth in it. And so I thought I would just go through the procedure and slip it in there and you wouldn't be any the wiser, and I could just keep this on the down low. And that was my plan. And the thing of it is that the retainer really didn't fit right. And even after some revisions, when it at least wasn't hurting anymore, it still wasn't working. Because what do I do for a living? This is what I do for a living. I talk to you, and I talk to you personally and privately, and I talk to you out loud and in front, and I teach. This is what I love to do. And I can't be spitting and sputtering and talking over a plastic thing because I'm too vain to show that I have a tooth missing in the front of my face. While it wasn't the plan, it became the reality. And I'll tell you that it is with my voice and with my words that I teach. It is with my love that I share and that I bring compassion to you when you need it, and in ways that I have learned it makes a difference. And now, I also teach with a missing tooth in the front of my mouth. Why? Because just like those floors, I'm not scratch-free either. And I have character and life, and I love to share that with you. And I have learned you do too, no matter what kinds of things you're dealing with, and no matter what kinds of sorrows you're carrying. And no matter how it is that you're feeling today or not, what's happened or hasn't happened, my purpose is service. And I found that being able to do this without something in the way, as my husband said, nobody thinks you're a tooth, Karen. I disagreed with him in the moment, but I've come to feel that that's probably true. Hey, do you think I could get on the cover of a South American magazine? Maybe that's, this is definitely authentic. In 2 Corinthians, we read, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Say that with me. My grace is sufficient for you because my power is made perfect in weakness. One more time. My grace is sufficient for you because my power is made perfect in weakness. I am banking on that promise. I'm going to invite you to go into prayer with me now. And so we just breathe once again. And just take a moment now just to reflect on all the places, maybe in your physical self, that you feel imperfect, or where you feel that you're not all you want to be, that people judge you from the way you look or the way you show up, what's missing or what's too much. The place in your lives that you have been that there is still a wound that you carry or a memory that you can't somehow release. That in this moment, whatever it is that is imperfect in you, give it up. Let it go. Open to receiving the grace that transforms and links us to the power that's made perfect in the courage of sharing who we really are and what matters most. And so in this moment, let us allow ourselves to be healed, now and always. Feel the grace that flows and unites us with the divine power that moves through us and is perfected as us, so that we now bring renewed, healing power to the world. And so it is. Amen. Catherine May wrote these words. She says, well, it just completely dissolved. I don't know what, it's a beautiful little poem. She said, life meanders like a path through the woods. We are changed by the seasons, and we bloom. And some seasons, we lose all our leaves, revealing bare bones. Given time, they grow again. And it's true. Scratch-free living? I wouldn't wish that for you. God bless you all.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.